Hi and welcome back. What we've got today is stative and dynamic verbs. Are you ready? Let's get started. As you can see, these are verbs that describe states, not actions. They describe what states, not actions. Now, when we are talking about verbs that describe states, not actions, we have examples like thoughts or opinions. For example, know, the word know, think, remember, understand, feelings or emotions like hate, love, want, like, prefer. Senses like feel, smell, taste, hear, see. Position or measurement. For example, belong, own, have, and weigh. Now, these are examples of stative verbs. Now, the question is, how do we use them? What is the correct way of using them? As you can see, for example, I'm writing, this is present continuous. Now, the question is, for a stative verb, do you usually or do you use it like this? Again, this is present continuous. She is working. We are listening to you too is present continuous. They have been dancing. This is present perfect continuous. And they will be walking. This is future continuous. Now, the answer is, let's ask the question again. For stative verbs, do you usually or do you have or do you use them like this? I mean, having the form of present continuous, present perfect continuous, or future continuous? The answer is, we do not usually use them like this, or we say we don't use them like this. So the question again is, if we do not usually or we do not use them like this, then how do we use them? Don't worry. Now you see the word here is an example of a stative verb. So I'm not hearing you having this form or this present continuous tense. It is wrong using it like this for the word here. The question is, if I'm not hearing you is wrong, saying it like that is wrong, what do I say, or what is the correct tense to use? If you use or you should use I can't hear you. I can't hear you. If you say I can't hear you, this is correct, but not I'm not hearing you. So I will be hearing you too is wrong. I have been hearing you chew is wrong. Now you remember opinions or thoughts, right? I'm knowing you, present continuous tense, and you remember know is an example of a stative verb. You don't use it. You don't use it like this. So if saying I'm knowing you is wrong, what do you say? Say I know you. I know you. I will be knowing you. To is wrong. I have been knowing you too is wrong. You remember possession? So saying I'm owning a house is wrong. If that is wrong, what do you say? Say I own a house. I own a house. That is what you should say. I will be owning a house too is wrong. I have been owning a house too is wrong. You remember for stative verbs, what we say about them is we do not usually use them like this. We do not usually or do not use them like this. Good. Let's have this is another example. You are owing me 5 naira. Now stative verb, this is wrong. You say you owe me 5 naira. Good. You will be owing me 5 naira too is wrong. You have been owing me 5 naira too is wrong. The last example, I am believing you. Believe too is an example of a stative verb. So this is wrong. You say I believe you. I will be believing you too is wrong. I have been believing you too is wrong. Do not get confused. Let's continue. Now, it is possible, or sometimes you hear someone, or if you hear someone say, I'm not understanding your question. You remember, understand too is an example of a stative verb. And now you have it in this form. You have they use in the present continuous. It's possible sometimes you hear someone say, I'm not understanding your question. Then you start asking, why does the person not say, I do not understand your question? Right? Don't worry. Like, we are liking your car. You say, but the word like is an example of a stative verb. Then why is it like this? Not, we like your car. And again, an example like this, she is loving her new dress. You say, love is an example of a stative verb. And for stative verbs, we do not usually, or we do not use them like this. So you say the person should say she loves her new dress. Or like the last example here, I'm hating these shoes. You say the person should say I hate these shoes. Don't worry. Some of these stative verbs are sometimes used like this, but that is sometimes and where in informal language. In what? Informal language. So do not get confused. Not all of them, but what? Some of them. Some of them, like the word understand, like the word like the word love and hate. So do not get confused if you hear someone say, I'm not understanding your question. do not think, why not? I don't understand your question. I hope you are not confused. What I mean to say is that some of these stative verbs, sometimes it is possible that sometimes you hear someone use them like this. So, and I've explained that. Good. And now for the dynamic verbs. So these ones, they describe what? Actions. They are action verbs. They are not state verbs. For example, the words write, drink, sit, walk, play, listen, sweep, work, move, talk, wait, smile, spend, train, teach, cry, laugh, fly, come, jog, jump, and move. Now the difference is, for example, if you can remember, let's have a look at this. This is a present continuous tense. I'm writing. This too is a present continuous tense. She's working. We are listening to you. Present continuous tense. They have been dancing. Present perfect continuous tense, and they will be walking. This is a future continuous tense. Now for the dynamic verbs, having these forms, of tense is correct. So you can have, you use the I'm writing, like I'm doing something, I have been doing something, and I will be doing something. Not just like I do. It's not like I know you. You remember the stative verbs. Not like I believe you. You know, for stative verbs, if you say I'm knowing you, saying I'm knowing you, that is wrong, because know is a stative verb. I'm believing you too is wrong. You say I believe you. I believe you. But for dynamic verbs, you have like the word right here. You can have the I write, I'm writing, I have been writing, I will be writing. All of them are correct. Like here, she works, she is working, she has been working, she will be working. Correct. We listen to you. Correct. We are listening to you. Correct. We have been listening to you. Correct. We will be listening to you. Correct. They dance. Correct. They are dancing. Correct. They have been dancing. Correct. They will be dancing too. Correct. They walk. Correct. They are walking. Correct. They will be walking. Correct. They have been walking. Correct. For the dynamic verbs, it is correct. So you have I write, correct. I'm writing, correct. Only the meaning, we say that the meanings are different. But you remember, for stative verbs, we do not usually, or we don't use them like that. Let's have examples. Now, for example, my son plays in the room. The word play is a dynamic verb. So you see, having it like this is correct. Having it like this too is correct. What you say that is the meanings are different. My son is playing in the room. It is not like I am knowing you. You remember, know is an example of a stative verb. So if you say I am knowing you, that is wrong. But you see, play is a dynamic verb. So my son plays is correct. My son is playing is correct. My son is playing in the room, for example. My son will be playing in the room. Having using this tense too is correct because it's not a stative verb. My son will be playing in the room. My son has been playing in the room. People walk, correct, is a dynamic verb. People are walking, correct, is a dynamic verb. People will be walking, correct too. People have been walking, correct too. You remember, is a dynamic verb. She teaches, correct. She is teaching, correct. She will be teaching, correct. And she has been teaching. You remember, for dynamic, for stative verb, what you expect is just like here. My son plays. People walk. She teaches, but not my son is playing. But you remember, some of them that use sometimes here or sometimes are used with that form, like I'm not understanding your question. You remember, that is sometimes in what? In informal language. Good. For example, like the word sit is an example of a dynamic verb. So you sit on my seat is correct. Saying you are sitting on my seat too, you sit on my seat, correct. You are sitting on my seat too, correct. You'll be sitting on my seat too, correct. You have been sitting on my seat too, correct. He talks, correct. He is talking, correct. He will be talking, correct. And he has been talking, correct. Now, I hope you have understood the difference between the dynamic verbs and the dynamic and stative verbs. So you remember, for the stative verbs, you do not usually, or you don't use them like that. What you have is, instead of I'm knowing you, what you have is I know you. Instead of I am believing you, what you have is I believe you. You don't have I am believing you, I will be believing you, I have been believing you, and so on. But for the dynamic verbs, you have that form, the simple present, the present continuous, the present perfect continuous, just like you sit, you are sitting, you will be sitting, you have been sitting, and just like that. I hope you are not confused. Now let's have a look at this. Now the difference, because there are words that can be stative and dynamic. For example, now if I say I think you are wise, this is my opinion. This is my opinion. Remember, opinions, thoughts. So the word think here is stative. Is what? Stative. I think you are wise. But if you say I think about you, I think about you, now this one is dynamic. It is what? Dynamic. Action is an action verb. So the meanings are different. I have a bike. You remember possession. I have a bike. Have here is stative. But if I say I'm having lunch, this one is action, dynamic. She looks beautiful. The word looks here is stative. But if you say she looks at you, this here is dynamic. The room measures 4 feet. This is stative. But for example, he measures the room with a tape. Here, this is what? Dynamic. She is helpful. This is stative. You are happy. R2 is stative here. I'm a man is stative. I'm talking I mean am. But if you say she is being helpful, so here we say that it is dynamic. So do not get confused. Like think can be stative and dynamic. Have here I have a bag is possession, so it is stative. But like I'm having here lunch is dynamic. Look can be stative and dynamic. It depends on how you use it, like the measure and so on. So I hope that the topic was not difficult. If you find it difficult, if you have not understood it, what you should do is, like I usually say, just if it's like let's say 10 minutes, try to understand the first 5 minutes. But you should remember, for stative verbs, we don't usually, what we say about them is these are the verbs that we do not usually, or we do not use the present continuous form, not just the present continuous form, but also like the future continuous form tense. I mean, like you don't say I'm knowing you. You don't say I will be knowing you. You don't say I have been knowing you. You also remember that some of these stative verbs are used like this. For example, I'm not understanding your question. Instead of I do not understand your question, you remember that is sometimes, and that is informal language in informal language. So I hope that was great. So I say until next time.